The first show that I placed in that was a pro qualifier was the Mr. USA in 1999 in California. It was in Santa Monica, and it was mind-blowing. I was hoping I would make the top 15, and I actually made the top 5. I actually got 4th. I thought at that point getting this pro card is going to be easy. But like I said, that was 1999, and here we are.
When John finally won his pro card, I was ecstatic. And just to see him in so many shows and just come so far along and change so much and go through the obstacles that he has, to see him get his pro card was just exciting, just overjoyed. I didn't even know what to do. I was so thrilled when somebody came from backstage and came and got me to let me go back there and actually be with him. It was an unreal moment.
In terms of my approach as a professional compared to an amateur, my approach is always changing, first of all. I don't have any beliefs that I'm so entrenched in that I'm afraid to change them. If I find a better way to do something, I'll do it. I don't care what it is. If it works and it's good for me, I'll do it. The biggest change is now I have to make a weight class. And it is really difficult for me to get down to 212. It takes some serious suffering to get down to 212. But, in terms of training and nutrition, that stuff's always changed for me. You find little things that work. Because a lot of times what happens is you find things that work for a little while, and then they don't work anymore. So you got to find something else that works. And especially the closer you get to your genetic potential. You can't just do the same stuff over and over. I don't care what anybody says. You got to be a little more creative. You got to do things a little differently. And you just have to do that to get better.
Are you ready?
Oh yeah, I'm always ready. I'm always ready for workouts, sir.
Man, I've done every diet you can think of. I've done low carbs, high carbs, low fat, high fat, fit your macros, all that stuff. To me, net energy balance is one of the biggest keys. If you want to grow, are you eating enough to grow? If you want to get lean, are you eating the right amount to get lean? And then from that point, you kind of just figure out what kind of macros work for you. Do you feel better on higher carbs or do you feel better on lower carbs? There's no right or wrong answer. Me personally, I've had years where I did lower carbs, I did great, and now I can't do low carbs. I can't function. So, even if it works for you one year, it might not continue to work for you. The question of has my diet changed over the years? Yeah, it's always changing. Because our bodies change, and I try to be really, really aware of how I'm reacting to what I'm eating. It's a constant work in progress. My training has evolved quite a bit. I pay attention real closely to how my body's responding when I train. Obviously as you get older too, you have to appreciate staying healthy. You can't make any progress if you're always injured. And for me, I personally love to train heavy, but if I compromise my form, then it's asking for trouble. I'm asking for a strain, I'm asking for an injury. So I try to train, I have a mixture of techniques that I use. I try to train heavy, but not at the expense of good form. Good form is mandatory for me when I train. And I mix up a lot of my rep ranges. I have a certain way that I structure my workouts. I'm a big believer in mind-muscle connection. And moving a weight from point A to point B is great for a powerlifter, but I've never had a judge ask me how much I benched. To me, you really got to feel the muscle working, and the better I get at that, usually means better results for me personally. And I find out a lot of my clients too. Sometimes we'll pull back on the weight a little bit so they feel exercises more, and boom, they grow, they look better. You don't forget about the basics, but if you can improve on the basics, and find, what works for you, then that's what you got to do. Last year I jumped right into 3 pro shows, and I just wanted to be competitive. And I placed in all of them. I was very happy about that. By the last show in San Antonio, I was completely burnt out, but I still hung on for a top 5 finish there. This year, I've retooled the way I look. I have a smaller waist now. I've streamlined my physique a little more. It flows better. And I actually have pretty high expectations for this year. A lot of people have told me that just doing the Arnold Classic is good enough. And it has been my lifelong dream. I mean, when I started competing, I told my grandmother I wanted to do that show, and I wanted her to come and see me, and that's what I've worked for my whole life. So it is a huge victory for me just to do the show in front of my friends and so forth, but I'm not in it to get a participation medal. There's a reason why I made improvements, and I worked so hard on streamlining my physique. I want to be competitive. I don't want to go up there and get my butt kicked. So I have pretty high expectations. I mean, honestly, I'd like to place in the top 5. If you look at the lineup, the guys that are in it, they're awesome. I mean, Guy has won shows, Tank has won shows, Hidetada has won shows, Jose has obviously won shows, David, Henry. I mean, these are the best in the world. I don't think I'm being delusional, though, and thinking that I can hold my own. And that's what I want to do. I want to hold my own against the top guys in the world and do the best I can. I really try not to predict the future because you just never know. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, I got my pro card in July of last year. If you would have told me less than a year ago that I'd be doing the Arnold this year, I would have said, you are absolutely out of your mind. So I don't think anything's out of question. I also have placed priority on health, so I'm not going to compete until I'm, 50 or 60 years old. But as long as I'm feeling good, I'm feeling healthy, then I'll probably do a show here and there, as long as I'm getting better. But honestly, I don't want to be one of the guys who, kind of like a boxer past their prime, they start losing skills, everything starts eroding, and they keep going in there. That's when it's time to hang it up. I really don't have any thoughts about the future. I'm just going to take it 1 month at a time, 1 week at a time, and 1 day at a time. What makes a great bodybuilder? It's a potpourri of different things. Genetics is very, very key. You may not have to have elite genetics, but you have to have at least pretty good genetics. You just do. Depending on your genetics, you also have to have the obvious, which is work ethic, consistency, dedication, year after year after year. I've seen a lot of guys come and go. One of the biggest challenges, I think, for guys in particular is their egos. And part of it is you have to kind of set your ego aside and say, how am I going to get better? Because I need to get better. And you have to constantly be in that process of improving and thinking about how you can get better. The better you are at that, and the healthier you can stay by intelligent training, intelligent eating, the longer you make it, the better you get at that stuff. To me, that's what makes you a really, really good bodybuilder. The bodybuilders I respect the most are the guys that, to put it bluntly, they have character. Well, it's kind of insulting in a way. They talk about how they're just outworking everybody, and you don't know if you're outworking everybody. You will never ever hear me say I'm outworking everybody. You don't know what everybody else is doing. You just know that you're working hard. What makes me respect other bodybuilders is their character, their integrity. There's a lot of family guys in the sport, immediately guys like Mark Dugdale come to mind, Ken Jackson, Quad. These are family guys. I respect that because I know how much of a juggling act that can be, and that's far more important than being a bodybuilder is. I respect people that have incredible work ethics too, people that have just chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. I mean, if you look at a guy like Jose Raymond, he's been grinding it out for a long time. He's been winning for a long time. He didn't get satisfied. He just kept going. He kept getting better and better, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. And then the way you handle yourself. I look at a guy like Flex Lewis. That guy handles himself like a champion. He's not getting in arguments on the internet. He's a family guy too. He's just got a new baby little girl. Just handles himself really well with integrity. And I'm fortunate to be friends with him. And I consider those guys really good guys. And I love seeing those guys get rewarded. And that's kind of the short story of what I respect.